Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to go over another video that I did 10 years ago. The quality on this video is much better, and so I will be able to play some. And my purpose in doing this is to kind of go back and to see what has changed. Has my perspective changed? Living life in a decade and raising children and life, and to see if these topics are still relevant today. So this one, before I even start playing it, I want to actually show the comment that inspired it. Oh, I don't know what I just did. Okay. The comment that inspired this video was actually from the video that I went over yesterday that was horrible quality. This is in the no, this is in this one. That's the comment. This is under the teens, dating and marriage. So this is a comment that inspired this video. It's kind of long, but I'll try to read it as fast as I can while still making it understandable. Assalamu alaikum. Great video. I have a question about women obeying their husbands. Do you find it hard to listen to your husband on certain things? For example, if my husband told me he didn't like my dress, he didn't think my dress was appropriate, or don't wear big dangling earrings with hijab, or even don't make the bed up this way because I like it that way, I would catch an attitude quick. And I know I shouldn't, but I feel like if I'm making the bed, then I want to make it my way. Wallahi, this has never happened. I'm just using it as an example. Because if it ever happened, I know how I'd react. I feel like as a wife, I would be wrong if I argued with him about those things. What about you? Do you think a wife is justified in debating, arguing over little things like that? I kind of just want a woman to keep it real and tell me to stop tripping over such trivial things. But most women I talk to are on this empowerment tip, saying we don't have to listen to our husband, blah, blah, blah. That's not what Islam says, yada, yada, yada. So that doesn't help me much. Obedience is like a curse word to women these days. Either way, I know I want to change for the better. It's just nice to hear another woman's perspective. Would you do a video on this? Thank you. And so that was the inspiration for the other video. But before I even go into the other video, I wanted to kind of give my answer. It's the same now that it was then. Do you find it hard to listen to your husband on certain things? First of all, subhanAllah, when it comes to the empowerment, like towards the end, most women, 10 years ago, we were already seeing the discouragement of women working with their husbands, obeying their husbands. It was becoming abundantly clear that this was even seeping into the ummah. May Allah protect us, ameen. And it's even worse now. So when it comes to even how the question is posed, do I find it hard to listen to my husband on certain things? So my husband is not my father. My husband and I have a relationship where I know his position. I give him respect, and he does not abuse that position. He doesn't abuse the position that he has over me. So if my husband, or my opinion, if a husband is dictating to his wife how to dress, I think that can be a problem. I think that it's one thing. I think that this is just my opinion. You don't have to agree, but this is my opinion. The way you meet each other is kind of how you have to accept each other. So if you met a sister and she wasn't covered, or her scarf drips sometimes and her earrings are dangling, even if she promises you and she says, my intention is perhaps when we get married, this will encourage me, this will help me to tighten up on my hijab and on my clothing and on my covering. Even if she says that, your job, and I'm not speaking to husbands because inshallah there's no men listening to me right now, but our husband's job is to, if he so agrees to marry us in that way, is to accept us like that because that's the reality that we're coming in. And inshallah, um if we make good on our intention, if we make good on that, then alhamdulillah. But if not, then of course he has the right to revisit it and to see if you guys have to be compatible. I don't think it's productive, or I don't think it brings anything good when when anyone dictates to a woman how to dress. It's one thing if you're like, hey, can you check my outfit? Is this see-through? Is this cool? Do you think it's a little bit too form-fitting? I think that is awesome. I think that is it. You want to have each other's back in that way. But if your husband is trying to be your father, then I don't even know how y'all got together. I don't understand. Now, when it comes to making up the bed, now when you're getting married, again, we're having a conversation. Somebody's having your father, however you got together. You have to have the conversation as to what what are you going to contribute to the marriage and what can be expected of you. So if I'm a student, for example, if there's a sister and she's like, I'm a student, I'm really busy, I do not want to have kids right away. I'm also not as neat, I'm a little messy, but you know what? I'm a great cook. Then the husband has a chance to see if he can work with that. Vice versa. If there's a brother and he's OCD and he likes his 3 square meals cooked at an exact time, and you're a woman and you're like, you need to ask yourself, can you make good? Can you do that for him? If not, then pass. So when it comes to things like making the bed, and when it comes to, and I'm going to go over this a little bit in the video, I think that when it comes to your roles as husband and wife, that people need to stay in their lanes. If you've agreed that you're going to be home and you're going to be the one that makes the bed, not that your spouse cannot have an input, he can, of course, even you can have an input, but you have to treat each other with competence. If your husband is treating you like you're incompetent, like, oh my gosh, there's a wrinkle, or I don't understand. I don't know how you got together. I don't know how you agreed. Not that people can't switch up in a marriage, but let me keep going because I do want to go over the video and I kind of talk about it a little bit more. So that's what I think. I think that my husband's job is to, one of his responsibilities is to provide for the family, to take care of the household. I don't micromanage him. I can have a question, I can have a suggestion, I can have a preference, but I don't micromanage. And I think that the same should be reciprocated. There should be some compassion. There should be some type of trust. Everyone should stay in their lane and trust that when you agree to get married, that you agree that you can fill this role, and you also trust that the person has agreed to fill theirs when it comes to how you guys are going to work together. Inshallah. Let's get to the video. And I know it says respect is 2 topics, respect in marriage and polygyny. If I don't have time to go into the polygyny, I'll just do part 2. I'll do that tomorrow. I really just wanted to talk about the respect part. Let's see.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings of Allah, God, our creator, be upon you. Inshallah, as you listen to this message, you are doing well. I have been trying to prepare for this message, alhamdulillah, for a while, and my husband and I have been having to stay in their lane. Everyone should stay in their lane. And my husband brought this hadith to my attention where it says, Abdullah bin Umar, Rasulullah, the messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, every one of you is a shepherd and is responsible for his flock. The leader of the people is a guardian and is responsible for his subjects. A man is the guardian of his family and is responsible for his subjects. A woman is the guardian of her husband's home and of his children and is responsible for them. And the slave of a man is a guardian of his master's property and is responsible for it. Surely every one of you is a shepherd and responsible for his flock. So we are all shepherds. Okay, so if
So, subhanAllah, that's kind of what I just went over, and I still agree that everyone should stay in their lane. Your husband has the position of leadership. He has the last word. He has the input. However, you agreed to marry him because you trust that he's also competent. He's, forgive me if I'm saying that wrong, that he's capable of making the right decision. So I kind of go over that there. And
a woman, if a sister is
the reason why I also wanted to bring that up when it comes to respect in marriage is because I kind of like, even back then, I when I thought of marriage, I thought of something that helps you, something that helps you get closer to Allah. As a woman, you have a covering, you have a leader, you have a protector, you have someone that someone to work with, someone that marriage is going to make your life better. I'm not talking about from money or anything like that, but marriage adds something to your life. It doesn't take away. So the first and the basics with any relationship is respect. And so that's where I'm going with when it comes to staying in your lane. And the hadith about the shepherd is emphasizing that if you're not married, when you are out there looking for a spouse, however that method is, wali, wakil's your father, make sure you know what it is that you are bringing. Make sure that you also know what you expect in return, and just make an informed decision. People can switch up, but people are not mind readers. If you don't tell them anything, and if you are just such a selfless person that you marry somebody and your only goal is to get their approval, as women, because we're so emotional, it's going to take us out of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're going to be just going through the motions because we're going to be feeling like, I'm not good enough. He didn't like the way I made the bed. The food is not tasting right. That's a lack of compassion on his end. And how it affects most of us women is it will take us out of the remembrance of Allah, because now our focus is on something else. The same thing is if we abuse and badger our husband, if we are abusing the finances, if we are disrespecting him, if we are attacking his ego, it's going to be hard for him to make a dhikr. And we are creating such a toxic environment. We're not contributing to him and his remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we have to remember that is the ultimate goal of us even being together. The marriage is not the ends. The marriage it's a tool. It's a means to an ends, which is Jannah and pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if both of us are trying to gain Allah's pleasure, and we both benefit, inshallah. And then when we crisscross, and sometimes if I am asking a little bit too many questions or stepping out of bounds, we can gently direct each other back to our lanes with love and with respect. Because ultimately what this creates, when you're petty, when you have a husband who doesn't trust you, that you know how to make a bed, or can't look over, or can't accept that you are the shepherd of the household and he doesn't trust you, then that's going to make him weak as a leader, because you're not going to be able to give him what he needs as far as the correct respect, you're going to resent him, even if not outwardly, even within yourself, even if you're quiet and pious and someone is, your husband is treating you like a overbearing father, you're not going to feel very pretty around him, very confident. It's just going to cause a ripple effect in your relationship, intimacy, how you feel about yourself. It just makes for a weak leadership, and it puts your whole it makes your whole family vulnerable, makes your whole family susceptible to falling apart because it's very basic. Respect should be basic. I think I wanted to share something here. Let's see.
Responsible to make the bed.
No, here we go. So here, let's see what I have to say here.
You can be so filled with your deen can be up. Your deen can be so high. You can be, up on your Arabic classes and your surahs, and you're fellowshipping with your sisters, and you got the children, or whatever, everything, and your support, your garments, your husband, your protector can say one thing, and it'll take you out of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It'll just take you out, and that's not good. You know what I mean? So it's not a good thing for us sisters to ignore when we're hurt. It's not. Because when we're in salat, if there is a rift between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we're just going through the motions. We're not really getting what we need, Instead of thinking about, our Lord and our Creator, and we're thinking about the actual words, we're giving almost permission to the whispers of shaitan to tell us you're not good enough. He doesn't love you. May Allah protect us against the influence of shaitan. And so I just think that, we need to be reminded. I remind myself first and remind my sisters. We wives are human beings. We are women. Yes, we're wives. Just women, period. We're someone's daughter, we're someone's mother, all types of situations. But at the end of the day, we are individuals. We have hearts, we have feelings, and we can't be the first to neglect ourselves. We can't be the first to allow for, say, our husbands to make us feel low, to make us bring our self-esteem down, and we say nothing. Sometimes men say things. I mean, not just people. People say things and they don't mean, it has no malice, but sometimes it can hurt your feelings. And so it is very important that you communicate that with each other, and vice versa. We might say things to our husbands that hurt their feelings. We might say something to them jokingly, and it might hurt their ego, and they might take it as disrespect, and they might just push it to the side and not say anything about it and take it out on us in different ways, just like we do. So that's it's just not good for either one of us to disregard each other's feelings. And it's not good when we ourselves are offended to just brush it off. We have to lovingly let the person know. Tell our husbands, hey, the other day you said this, maybe that wasn't your intention, but this was how it made me feel. Can you please not do that again, because it messes with me. Maybe it was a joke, but the goal as Muslims is we should always be in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, our deen goes up and it goes down. Of course, we are in this life that is a test, but we have.
So yeah, I still agree with that wholeheartedly. And then now, 10 years after, I see how beneficial and how important that is, especially when you have your children. The way that your spouse is speaking to you is how your children is going to is how they're going to speak to you. So some children, and even ourselves, if we look at some of our experiences, some children witness adults, parents being disrespectful, and if the one being abused is the same gender, oftentimes they become bitter. So if sometimes if young boys, and this is not no studies or anything like that, this is just from things that I've seen and what I've concluded that if little boys grow up and they see their fathers being disrespected, being belittled in front of them by their mothers, by other females in the family, then they see themselves as potentially being weak. If my father is a man and I'm to grow up to be just like him, then I'm going to be weak. So either they take on that passive, maybe they accept it, or they might lash out and resent their father for accepting abuse. Either way, it usually tilts people into an extreme left or right. The same thing with females is if you see your mom, if you witness your mom getting, it doesn't even have to be extreme, but her feelings hurt and abuse and being quiet, you're going to look. And I think that's why sometimes when the previous generation, if we have a front row seat and we look, and even me as a female, I would see certain things with certain women in my family and be like, oh, I'm not going to take that. Oh, I don't want to tolerate that because we're same gender. And you just automatically look and this, and you're like, oh, am I supposed to react that way? Am I supposed to tolerate that? And again, will go into either we'll be super submissive and say, oh, well, that's just the way it goes, or we will go the other way and, like they say, throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, no, forget that. This is why I don't want to get married because when I was younger, I saw what my grandparents went through. It's like, it's not that serious. It's not that serious. It's just communication. When you communicate, of course, you don't argue in front of your children, you don't tell all your business in front of your children, but your children need to learn. They need to see parents disagree and they need to watch them problem solve. So when they get older, they not think, well, my father used to tell my mother this and she never talked back or she never said anything. She just took it. And then that they don't know what happened behind closed doors. And even if the mother did that, that was her decision, that was her life. You're a whole totally different person. You talk with respect and you it doesn't have to be a drama and it's not an argument, but you have to advocate for yourself. And then flip mode. You also have to be open to apologize and to be humble enough for when you make mistakes and you might say something to your husband, you can also say, well, my mom said it to my dad all the time. You're being sensitive. No, that was your father and that was his decision and that was his life, you know? And you don't know what happened behind closed doors. So the respect is a big thing. And I'm a huge advocate for that because people are not mind readers. And once again, especially if you have children, even with them with each other, you teach them how to respect each other. That's your older sibling. This is your younger sibling. If you're upset with each other, it's okay. You can't say this, you can't say that. These are things you can do. You can go to your room, you can have a timeout, we all have to know how to process our emotion, acknowledge our emotion, and when and if needed, talk about what we need in order to be good. It's not you process it, you acknowledge it. If your feelings are hurt, and then you just swallow it. No. Now you don't have to be petty, and everything doesn't have to be like I in my family. It doesn't have to be a Dr. Phil moment. But if you feel disrespected, or if you feel that your partner is making you feel like they don't trust you, then where's the loyalty? My thing is family, number one, has to be loyal. And if you are married, you got to be down for one another. And if he marries you and he loves you and he just has to trust you and you have to trust him, you have to be open to advice. What's the word? You have to be open to input. Can't think of the word right now. But ultimately, there's never an excuse to be disrespected. There's never an excuse to be disrespectful, and there's never an excuse to be mean. Men who are mean to women don't like them. That's just that's just what I've come to learn. And we only have one life. So use your voice and advocate kindly if that's what's going on. And vice versa. Be mindful of how you are talking to your spouse and treating your spouse. Stay in your lanes. Everyone stay in their lanes. Don't be petty because we all have to be good in order to pray. We all have to be good in order to focus, in order to have not have resentment. All right, so I'm going to stop this here, and then next time I will do the second half with which is where I talk about polygyny. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to. Okay, this was talking about polygyny. Let's just see if I have something here.
To seek the ultimate approval from our spouses. No, it is not. It is not. If if I ever uh, put my husband in a position where he's taken out of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all he's focusing on is more pleasing me. No.
So I guess here, and then I'm gonna close it out, is if we critique each other too much, then we give each other, we can give our spouses insecurities. So if your husband or if you are so insecure that you're not even focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's going to create a problem. I believe that you, in trying to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just by default, your husband's going to benefit. You do want to please him. You do want to love him. You do want to get his approval. Women, we are built for that. We are built to want the approval and the validation of men. That's why so many women are on Instagram. That's why women are like, look at me, outfit of the day. That's why, like I think that if when I think of certain sisters, and may Allah heal all of our hearts that are out there, look at me and validate me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where's your husband? He needs to take you out. He needs to buy you some flowers. He needs to tell you that you're beautiful. SubhanAllah, girl, you out here a little thirsty. SubhanAllah. But that's natural. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He created us with that. He created us with wanting that love and that validation from our husbands. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So long as, inshallah, the husband isn't abusing it. But if he doesn't even know, if you've never told him, if you've never told him, like, can you say it nicer? Or I'm insecure now. I don't feel pretty. Give him a chance. Give him a chance. Open up. Um, because that's gonna help your marriage. It's gonna help your relationship. And inshallah ta'ala is just going to help. It's gonna help you. It's gonna help you. It's like a garden. Everybody wants the ultimate reward out of things, but with minimum effort. That's ignorance. You have to put as much effort as you can into it. So if you need more sunshine, if you need more watering, whatever it is you need from your spouse, you need to give them a chance, and you need to tell them in a loving, kind manner. Now, it doesn't take away from the point. Like, for example, if your husband is saying, your hijab is getting loose. Now you're going backwards. If your husband is saying something, I go, you're being mean to me. Okay, maybe his deliverance you may think is a little mean. And after you've talked to him about it, just still don't run away from his point. Okay? Do not try to get away from his leadership. So, all right, I'm going to stop this here. And inshallah, you can just check out this video from a decade ago. And I will come back tomorrow with the second half of this. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.